Namaste. Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome. Happy Friday. Today I am here to share with you a lot of tarot decks. This is going to be a long one today, so if you don't have a beverage or whatever you need, you probably want to grab that and just make yourself really, really comfortable. I am in no rush to get through this, and I have found some of these questions really intriguing, and so I will be posting each of the questions prompted by Lisa Papez on the screen, and then reflecting on some of the decks as I respond, to the questions. So before I do that, today I have prepared a few different banners, and I want to celebrate all of you and take some time to thank people who have made a difference in my channel. And I'm really not sure where I am as far as channelversaries go, still very young in this journey. And I am immensely grateful to each and every one of you for every comment. For those of you that support me on a monthly basis, whether you watch my videos or not, it's really, truly incredible. So there's a few people on the rose quartz list, and the ones with asterisks have been here since the beginning, or pretty much since the beginning, and I want to thank you for that. So yeah, so much. Thank you very, very much. The bulk of the members on this channel are citrine members, and the citrine members have an opportunity, as well as the rose quartz members, to watch all of my members only content, which includes a lot of tarot education. And there's over 50 of you, and many of you I see very, very often. And again, the ones with the asterisks have been here since the beginning or near the beginning, and I can't say how, and some of you I've gotten to know so well. It really has been, it's really been a blessing getting to know you. Yeah, and at the carnelian level, I have 3 devotees who are with me always, and Donna is an amazing mod who is here rain or shine, no matter how she's feeling, and really appreciate her. And Peace Ninja Woman Amy, I've known for some time as well too, and she's been really important to my tarot journey, and we have shared things back and forth. She's purchased decks from me, she's gifted me decks, a deck, and yeah, and then the Tulku Oracle, I really appreciate her as well too, signing on, because it was just sort of an exchange of energy, and it's been really marvelous. So I can't say enough about how much I appreciate all of your support, and I know that I may not say that as often as I should. So thank you very much. All right, so let me find my banners for you, and we'll get to the cards right away. Hi to those of you that are coming in from the top of the hour. And some of these questions are really quite provocative. Welcome to Laura. Mimi, hi. Donna and Dee and Saskia, hello. And welcome back to Jess. Nice to have Jess Reads Cards back as well too. What is the deck they're going to have to pry out of my cold, dead hands? Probably it will be the Marielle Tarot. This is a deck I will never stop journeying with. This deck has been really important to me as for my own self-inquiry, and there is always something I am learning and growing with this tarot. It's really sort of taken on a life of its own. This particular copy I would never lend to anyone. while I do wipe it from time to time because it has shiny backs, yeah, it's very much imbued with my energy, and I learn so much from this tarot deck. So this is definitely the one that they will have to pry out of my cold, dead hands. And I also want to say that below I have linked a bunch of videos, different things I've done on any of these decks. So if you want to learn more about any of the decks that I'm sharing with you today, you can refer to that. Okay. All right, now I have more than one deck for some of these prompts, and so the next one is the Guilty Pleasure deck. I have a spreadsheet of all of my decks, and it's actually not updated. I need to spend some time doing that. And interestingly, some of my most expensive decks are not in this number 2. There are some decks that I've spent a lot of money on that I hardly use, and that might be a topic for another video. But I am sharing, well, two decks with you right here now. And this might seem like an odd one for you. This is an indie deck created by Dame Darcy. This is the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. And one of the reasons this is a guilty pleasure deck is that I opened this deck on my birthday at a condo, beachfront condo that I rented on Maui. And it was such an extravagant, luxurious birthday present to myself. And I purchased an indie tarot deck and opened it at that time as well too. So this deck has a lot of extravagance attached to it. Beautiful, beautiful memories. For those of you that know me, I am a bit of a mermaid, and it is the place where I am most at home in the summer, and I can always be found at the beach. And I live in Canada, where the ocean is freezing cold 12 months of the year. Even in September, the ocean is freezing. It never gets above 16 or 17 degrees Celsius, but I still swim. And this deck reminds me of summer. It reminds me of my birthday and that amazing birthday holiday that I had not too long ago, where I treated myself in every single way. The next one should be absolutely no surprise. I read with both of these decks frequently. And this one is Open and Out. Now, the Lily Black and the Lily White, I would say that, they are expensive decks. They come from the EU. By the time you get them here in hand with the exchange and the duty and all of that, very expensive. And these two decks I use so much. I take them everywhere. I share them everywhere. They are, yes, I treat all my decks with great care, but honestly, I treat these decks like I would a mass market deck. That's how fervently I shuffle them, like I really do use these expensive decks, which probably I should take a little more care with, kind of wildly. And I love them. I love these decks so much. I get so much pleasure out of these decks. And I love the black deck as much as I love the white deck. And in the description below, there is a video, a side-by-side video. And some of these videos I linked today are very old. I'm sure if I watched them back, I might be kind of embarrassed, but that's where I was at that time. So no shame in that, right? If you haven't seen them side by side, this is the white deck. And I really appreciate one of you who mentioned to me, you said something to the effect of, well, you think the medium for this particular deck is chalk, and that the medium for each of the decks is different. And I found that comment really interesting. So I would love one day to have an interview with Celia herself and ask her more questions about this deck. I have sent so many people her way. And I know now that the guidebook is available in English as well too, which is great because I only have the French version of the guidebook. Yeah, and I thought at one time about getting the mini deck. Here, let me show you one card side by side before I put these away. But honestly, I don't need it. I'm really happy with what I have. And so there's your Hanged Man side by side. And this one is so cool. The colors are so rich in the black deck. It really is luminescent. It's gorgeous. Yeah. So those are 2 or 3 of my guilty pleasure decks. Now, this next question is a bit of a, I can say the answer is a deck that I wish I could co-create with somebody that I knew and trusted. Probably this would be a water color deck. And it would be full of esoterica, full of hidden treasures and meaning. It would have astrological correspondences. It would be mindful of historic references and associations. It would feel like me. It would feel like me. There are so many amazing decks out there, but honestly, I don't know if I've ever found the perfect deck. The perfect deck where you look at every ace and every 10 and you can see the fulfillment of the 10 in the ace, where you really capture that, where the shadow aspect of a card isn't taken so far that you can't find the light. There's just a lot of things that I would love to put into a deck. I would love to also have more mindfulness around the moon phases that were in the tarot deck, not just random waxing and waning moons. That would be amazing. It would be really cool too if there were 13, and I've tried to figure this out, if there were 13, all 13 moons somehow represented in the tarot deck, as well as the 12 sun signs. So I have drawn, I have mapped, I have spoken to a few different creators about this, and I've never been able to get this project going past a couple of weeks of conversation. So maybe one day. Maybe one day. Oh, let me go to Donna's comment before I go on to the next one. A few months ago, you were using the Future Ancestor deck. You said you were more drawn to very simple and minimal decks. Was that just a phase past? It is, so no, it's not a phase, and it hasn't passed. When decks have that simple energy to them, I find a lot of space and peace in those decks, and I will always pull one of those decks out. It's it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Yeah. And at the same time, I love to nerd out on the tarot, and I love to study tarot, and I will always, always be a student. And yeah, I will perhaps one day find somebody who I can work with to create something like that. The next prompt, and I have 3 decks here. What deck would you give to a new reader? Well, I would not hesitate to share my almost first deck, which is the Robin Wood Tarot. And the Robin Wood was the deck that I chose because it just felt a little more accessible than the Waite-Smith artwork. And I was simultaneously studying Waite-Smith, and you're welcome, Donna. I was simultaneously studying Waite-Smith and Thoth as a beginner. And I found this deck at Banyan Books in Vancouver, and also found the extra book that Robin wrote, and I loved all the little details she put into that extra book. The color associations. I really liked how she went into the detail descriptions for each of the cards and why she chose the details that she chose. And yeah, so the Robin Wood is definitely one that I would share or gift to a new reader, along with the additional companion book. And another deck that I would not, I'm going to put the used ones I've shared over here. Another deck that I would not hesitate to gift would be in the large box. I would gift the Druid Craft. And one reason would be that excellent large guidebook, I think is fantastic. And a lot of the people that I hang with connect to pagan energy, earth-centric energy, and this is one that I think is highly, highly relatable to a lot of people. And again, it is easy to read if you have some, if you're learning simultaneously with the Waite-Smith, deck. So yeah, this is one that has always, I think of all the Will Worthington, all the decks that Will Worthington illustrated, this one yeah, this one is there's just something really, really special about this deck. And I love the way that the numerological correspondences are built in a little more consciously. Hi, Clevis. I would love to comment on Dee's comment. And she says, I wish someone had encouraged me to start my tarot journey with Tarot de Marseille. Tarot de Marseille. That would be such a logical place to begin, or to my experience. Well, I guess you would, if I were to suggest that to a beginner reader, I would connect them to an experienced Tarot de Marseille teacher, and make sure that they had all of the references that they needed to understand the different forms of Tarot de Marseille, because there is not just one sort of species of Tarot de Marseille, and part of the journey with that is learning to recognize the changes and the history in the Tarot de Marseille. It's so fascinating. And one of the things I would like to do is take a year, 12 months on my channel, and only work with Tarot de Marseille exclusively. And I just need to figure out a start date, and I have a feeling that this will be in the not too distant future. Perhaps 2024. Perhaps 2024. It may be earlier than that. But I think I may finish up Tarot Foundations 2, and then that would be a really nice thing to start in 2024. So yeah, so I'm going to put that out there right now. Lydiane. I'm not sure when the last time I saw Lily Valley was. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea where she is. Have not heard from her. So if you're watching the replay, we are thinking of you, Lydiane. Okay. Oddly, perhaps, another deck that I have gifted to a couple of beginners is Tarot of the Hidden Realm. I don't have it on my table here today. Because of the kind of person it was, and I knew that they would connect well with that deck, as well as the fact that it is a Barbara Moore guidebook, and Barbara Moore writes great guidebooks. You'll be there for 2024, Dee. Thank you. So that is yeah, I've gifted that a few times to people. And then one of the decks that Donna just mentioned that while this is a little more expensive, and I have gifted people indie decks before, the Future Ancestor Tarot, which is I find it very accessible and a very intuitive to read. I wouldn't hesitate to give this deck either to a beginner. There's just something about it that feels gentle and very approachable. And I did link, like I said, I've linked a lot of videos below. So if you want to see more of these, they're in the description box below. This is an extraordinary deck in its cardstock, shuffability. The artwork is easy to read. Love the changes in titles. Yeah, it's a really great offering. Lexa Luna Studios. I forget the artist's name, but yeah, probably Alexa, right? So yeah, those are a few of the decks that I would not hesitate to give to a beginner. Okay, the fifth one. What deck do you want to get along with, but it just never clicked? All right, just never clicked. Yeah, I have a couple. And shall I use this one first? I'm going to say Cosmovisions, and I want to back up just a little bit here. I did not jump onto the bandwagon of James R. Eads decks when they first came out. I saw all of your beautiful videos sharing his art, the panorama that is created. I can show you on the back of this box, and I've done a lot of videos on these decks trying to get to know them. One of them, or the first of many, is linked below. And James creates these panoramas in the minors, and they really are beautiful. And I have all of his decks, not the Lenormand, or if there's oracles, I don't have his oracles either. This particular deck was designed for past life work. And there is a very special component in the major arcana that reflects the journey after death. And it has a, I really do, I like the intention. I have done lots of past life readings and work with past life energy with different people for different reasons. And this is why I purchased this particular deck, but I don't use it. I have a very hard time relating to the major arcana, and I don't really like the suit of air. I mean, there's some gorgeous, gorgeous cards in this deck, and I also have the large book, the big book that explains both of the, I believe you turn it over one way, you're reading Prisma Visions, and then the other way, you're reading another one of his decks, which is closer to Rider-Waite energy. And yeah, so I really wanted this deck to click. And I certainly could look at the artwork, but the suit of air, oh my goodness, I just can't deal with the suit of air in this deck. The suit of water is gorgeous. It's called Lotuses, and it's beautiful, but I just cannot do the suit of air in this deck. Okay. There is a more recent one that came into my life, and I thought that I could figure it out, and maybe in time I will. There is just something about the concept, about thinking outside the box. I love challenges. I love nerding out on the tarot. I want to understand other perspectives, and who better to teach you perspective than an architect? Who better to teach you perspective than the architect? But I am lost in many, many of these cards. I have sat and stared at them and tried to figure them out. I've lined things up to try to make them fit, and there's just something about it that doesn't work for me. So I am putting this one back on the shelf for a while, and at some point I will maybe revisit it, or I'll see some inspiring video by one of you lovely people, and I will try again. I will try again. All right. What deck do you keep for the art? That's a hard question. What deck do I keep for the art? I thought about this one a few times, and so one that comes to mind is the Melissa Wotherspoon deck, the Lonely Dreamer or something like that. That's a beautiful deck. But there's other reasons I want to keep that besides the artwork. And I have Robin Cole's beautiful deck. That's another one. Ooh, I should have pulled that out. That one is called Beautiful Rebellion Tarot. That is gorgeous. Yeah, that one is gorgeous. But the one I'm sharing with you today is the Majestic Earth. And I rarely use this. Rarely. But the artwork is stunning. It is all landscape paintings. And I'm not sure that I could give this up because the art is really beautiful. One of the ways that I have come to work with this deck is when I'm listening to a querent and I feel like they need a, that's not right. I feel that any tool to help them step back and out of the their little world. Some people, when people are in crisis, it's very hard to see the big picture. And I think one of the gifts of this particular deck is the landscape paintings. And it does get you to look at things a little further back. Yeah, so that is the Majestic Earth Tarot. Everything's, I believe, in some way or another is linked below. That's the title. Yeah. If any of the decks the decks that I'm sharing with you today that are out of print or currently unavailable, I have had tremendous luck finding decks on Facebook Marketplace. I've purchased a few on eBay, and pretty much any deck is available if you want it badly enough. And sometimes you can get them for great prices too. You don't have to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for an out-of-print deck. It is possible to find a deck for a decent price. Dee is mentioning Baba Studios Victorian Romantic Tarot. I don't have that one, and I believe that one, or is it the Victorian, the Gothic? One of them is Baba Studios is redoing. Yeah. Okay. Number 7. What deck did you buy because everyone else did? You've heard some of my stories, right? So one of them was Blood Moon. I was so tired of people saying, oh, it's such an amazing deck. It's such an amazing deck. So I bought it because I just had to see it firsthand. Regrettably, I no longer own it. Here's another one. This is Super Lunaris. Yeah. Oh, these are the extra cards. And this is one that I purchased because everyone was raving about it. It is a Waite-Smith wannabe clone. It's got some really pretty collage art. And yeah, there's a couple of cards that I really like, and I guess I bought this card. It was the Hierophant or the Hermit. That's why I bought it. I thought, okay, I'll just buy it for that one card and see if I really like it. Now it shuffles beautifully. It's good cardstock. No problem there. But there's some cards like, oh, like, don't like that card very much. Yeah, you know, there's a few cards that I just not very crazy about. So I'll show you the card because, of course, I've been here many a time and I thought that was a brilliant card. What this deck does have going for it is a lot of different cultures. Yeah, but I bought this because everybody said what an amazing deck it is, and yeah, I certainly didn't need to purchase it. So there are others, of course, that fit into that category, and presently I am in the process of reassessing the Spacious Tarot, and I did a video this week, and I paid for Carrie's extra audiobook to make an effort to understand this deck. And I will carry on next Wednesday. Trying to give this deck the benefit of the doubt to see if I... and it was also prompted by one of you as well, too, who had requested for a deep dive. And I certainly don't think it's worthy of a deep dive, but I thought I would give it a little bit of attention. Okay, now where are we at? Number 8. This is funny. I like this question. Probably a lot. Probably a lot of decks. Ooh, I know another art deck. Can I go back? Can I go back? I can. It's my show. I can do whatever I want to do. Yeah. You know what? This deck, I actually love the artwork in this deck. And let's see if I can zoom in a little bit because it's quite detailed. There we go. This is a John Bauer. And this deck reminds me of, I have a few, and I think I have one or two still, a John Bauer, and I don't know if the books were illustrated by John Bauer, but it's this kind of art, and one day I may make this a square deck. I think that's a cool project. I know a lot of people that have done that and made it an oracle. But I really like this artwork. It just takes me back. Just takes me back. And yes, the Edmund Duloc is also, it's on my wish list for that same reason, Donna. Yeah. Okay. So this next one is a question of, okay, what is going on here? You know, some decks, it is just really difficult to figure out what the heck is going on. And I don't want to say it's over my head. Maybe I just don't think the same way you think. And I did share this deck with you. This is when my alley man made me do it. And you know, this should be, sorry, I should actually show you the deck. I'm looking at it right now. Okay. This should be an easy to figure out. This particular deck is called Tarot de El Dios de los Tres. Tarot of I don't know. You can it's down below the title, I think. There's a lot going on in this deck. And there are these demigods in the minor arcana as well too. And I honestly think it's going to take a rocket science to figure this out. Yeah. Yes, and of course Donna asks this question as well too. Yes, that is definitely a possibility. I purchased this deck because of the Alley Man, and there is one particular card that I thought was just extraordinary, and it's not an expensive deck, it's a Fournier deck. Yeah, so this is one that definitely baffles me, and I'm not sure. The trouble is, I say reluctantly is that I have a lot of decks, and there are numerous ones I haven't given sufficient energy to, and I would really like to spend more time with. So I have to prioritize that. Okay. Now here is another one, and this one I shared with you not too long ago. This one is just absolutely wacko. This one is just wacko. I just thought, however, it is extraordinary. There's nothing quite like this. And there was a period of about a month where I purchased 4 crazy collage decks. I purchased this one. I purchased the Voyager, which I had never had. I purchased the Ritual, and then this one. 4 of them. And there's no way I will ever get, in this lifetime, get to the bottom of all 4 of these decks. But there's just something I find intriguing. Something intriguing. And perhaps this is just a part of me liking picking, taking apart people's brains to try to figure out where people are at. I work with a lot of different people struggling through various things, and I think it's cool to have different approaches and different ways to work with things. But I have to say, Meg made me do it. And there's something about Meg that she just reminds me of, that is very endearing. She reminds me of somebody that was very special in my life, and she likes these decks a lot. So I thought I would give them a go. These comments are hilarious. What did Dee Dee say? Dee Dee said, let's go to Dee Dee's comment. Where are you? That is so funny. You guys are hilarious. Yeah, so definitely collage decks I have a hard time with. Okay. Should we go on to the next one? Okay. What deck surprised you? Well, one should be easy for you to figure out. Oh, and I didn't prep this. Oh well. Oh well. This video was a lot of prep, by the way. A lot. Okay. So I'm going to share. I'm going to say that there are two that deserve equal mention. And I've done videos on both of them. And one is the transparent. This deck has surprised me more than I can say. It really is, it's not just fun. It has a way of delivering a message through a different sort of presentation. Draw 3 cards, look at them in a row, look at them in a linear way, and then stack them on top of each other. It's just really extraordinary, and I can't say enough about my experience with this deck so far. Oh, Donna's saying the Playful Heart. Yeah, that is a very, very pretty deck. So the Transparent Tarot is one that definitely was a surprise for me. It does come with a white cloth, and I have purchased a board, like a light board. The other thing that is really cool with this deck is to use it for scrying. So you just shuffle the whole deck, and then you cut it, and you look into the whole deck. It's really beautiful. Yeah. So the other one, and I don't know why I put this in the category of surprise. It was gifted to me by a viewer, and that's Tarot de Le Tarot Au Ramour Étrange. Tarot of the Strange Branches, or Tarot of the Strange Antlers. So yeah, I've read with this deck a lot on this channel, and I continue to find so much depth in this deck. It's really kind of shocking, actually. And some of the interpretations, some of the ways that the way the aces are depicted, all of these faces where we don't see the faces, which you think would be kind of weird, because I'm not one for, I don't know, detached heads sort of thing, or I don't know. That, I mean, I know that's also a little bit part of the Philarcos Tarot, which is really, really growing on me, but this deck has offered a lot, and I have been, the more I share it, and the more thought I put into some of the creators' choices, the more I see. And the idea of the goddess as the fourth court card. I have, so the third court card is the queen, and the fourth court card is the goddess. So instead of kings, we have dais. And I've been thinking about this, and this has to do with the union of the divine feminine energy ascending and meeting the god or the goddess energy and intermingling with it, and this experience that we can have with the God within. So there's this tangible form and this intangible aspect, and I'm really starting to like this. So I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot with this deck. And it hasn't gone off my little shelf since I've had it. I would like to trim it, but it's kind of papery, so it would require a lot of ink. Okay. So this really isn't my spiel. My first Baba Studio decks was the Alice deck, and I purchased that out of a love for Alice stories. And once you get on the Baba Studios list, you get all of their mailings, and so whenever they reprint a deck, you get, you know, all the intel on it. And so I purchased this one. This is the Fantastic Menagerie, with art by J.J. Granville, right? Just double check. I'm pretty sure that all work is by Granville. And yes, J.J. Granville. I thought that, so do you remember what I was saying about the John Bauer Tarot? How I look at those particular images and I just feel really comfortable. It takes me back, makes me feel very nostalgic. And I imagined that this deck would do something similar because I also had children's literature illustrated in this kind of a way. This deck, however, kind of gives me a creepy vibe. And the only reason that I keep it, and I've never used it for a reading, is because of the collectibility of the Bubba Studios decks. Yeah. Okay, I want to go. I need to catch up with the chat. I want to know what's going on with Dee Dee. Okay, so you two were talking about the Playful Heart Tarot. Oh, you're talking about the Playful Heart Tarot. Yes, there is. There's a card where people are throwing spaghetti at each other. That's funny. Yeah. Playful Heart Tarot. Okay, so this one I'm going to keep and keep it protected, and maybe one day when I need to pay the bills I'll sell it. I don't know. So that's the Fantastic Menagerie by Bubba Studios. Okay. Number 11. We have a long ways to go, my goodness. I could speed up, but like I said, I'm not in a hurry here. Okay. I like matte gilding, and this is the first one that came to mind, so I am sharing this one. This is by Lisa Papez. And the reason I like the matte edging is because it doesn't hurt your fingers, it doesn't hurt your hands, and it's so pretty. It's really hard to get this level of saturation so nice and even when you're doing it yourself. And so yeah, this is the Vendure deck. And I was trying to think if I have other decks that have matte edges. I think gilding refers to silver and gold and shiny pink and bronze, and I have a bunch of those, and I like them. I suppose if I pick my favorite shiny one, it would be the Tildwick, which I will show you later under another question. But yeah, this is great. And I know the Botan, which one of you just mentioned, is a beautiful matte navy blue. And I would, this sounds ridiculous, but I would almost pick that up for the matte navy blue. Yeah, that would be a bit crazy though, wouldn't it? Okay. Yeah, so there we are. All right, now I don't say I love this deck, but I want to love this deck. I shared it with you once, and the cardstock is absolutely atrocious. It is atrocious. It is as thin as paper, and this is the Lux Prognia Tarot. It is in a very cheap box, and it is lousy cardstock. It's really thin, ridiculously thin. Yeah. It's so thin, it's like paper. Yeah. However, this is one of those decks that makes me scratch my head And I imagine that in the summer, I will sit down with it and see if I can figure out a way that I would work with this, because I know that there's some amazing energy in this deck, and I want to get to know it. And I'm not sure that I will assign minor arcana associations. So the major arcana is no problem in this deck. It's easy. It's the minor arcana associations that are a little trickier. And what I may do is just remove a few of the cards, and I don't know. But anyway, the cardstock. The question was about cardstock. It's lousy. Yes, it is. It's more of an oracle. So what I could do with this deck is, you know, what would be really fun is just to use the majors. So do a reading, do a majors only reading, and then shuffle up the oracle cards, and so have one major and two oracles. Could do something like that and just treat it as oracle. Don't try to make it a tarot deck. Okay. The Buddha Tarot has the worst cardstock. Oh my goodness, that is, it's so disappointing when you spend money on decks and the quality isn't there. All right, so why in the world did I purchase this deck? I have no idea. Oh my God. I purchased it because I love the Crow Tarot. I like the Crow Tarot. I like crows and ravens and corvids. It's fun. It's really fun to have Halloween-y type decks. And oh, by the way, do you know, I would say there isn't a tarot deck out there that doesn't have a counterfeit copy, multiple counterfeit variations on Amazon. You need to be so mindful of where you're pressing buy. And it's easy to spot once you know what you're looking for, because I found right away counterfeit copy, because this one is no longer in print, this special edition. And yeah, so this deck really, it gives me the creeps. And I don't know. I think one of my nephews would love this deck, and he's into all this stuff. So I think maybe I'll just gift it to him at some point. Yeah, it's dark. It's very dark. So it gives me the willies, and I still have it. Okay, next question. I don't think, well, there's a couple. There are a couple. What's your guess on this one? I guess some of you have looked below already. You can cheat to find the answer as well. Shadow work. Shadow work. There are a lot of decks on this table. My goodness. Okay. Well, until you feel ready to guess, I'm going to look for it. Where is it? Okay, first of all, what is shadow work? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Shadow work. Shadow work, for me, is supporting people to look at the stuff they don't want to look at. There comes a point in people's journeys where they're ready to look at the hard stuff. And Yeah, the Marielle definitely works for that. It does. I'm sharing another one with you though. So that's what I mean by shadow. For people that are okay going a little deeper. Yeah. Okay. Oh, did I show you the box? Okay. Well, yeah. So this is my deck. This is my deck, and I have always had an affinity for this one, particularly some of the cards where I've had some very powerful connections, not just for myself, but with certain queerants. And you know, another thing too is the whole backstory of this deck and the work of John Matthews and his work in making the race more known, and I just find the study of the she in general takes us underground. It takes us behind doors. The she are, from what I understand, a folk that remain hidden for their survival. And I've read all of John Matthews' books, anything I can get my hands on about this particular race of folk. I find fascinating. I really do. Never encountered the she. I have the she glyph in my bedroom, and it's always there, vibrating. So yeah, so this is a really good deck. I like it when clients are ready to go a little deeper into their stuff. Okay. All right, where are we? Let's put this one over here. What deck do you love in theory but not in practice? Okay. I have two. That I'm going to share with you. One I have done videos on, the other, no, not yet. So in theory, what does it say? I like love. Love's a pretty strong word, isn't it? In theory, I like the concept of the Alleyman Tarot. It's really fun. And the cards that are on the top are the ones that I purchased the deck because of this deck. I have tremendous respect for Seven Dane, let's just call him the Alleyman, for what he or they created with this project. Really, really something. But honestly, I don't think you can read with this tarot. This is a tarot of, it's fun. It's fun to choose cards and to do this and to put suits together and pick your favorite cards. But because there's no cohesion and it's so muddled, I don't think in practice it's a very good deck to be working with. But I think for tarot study, I think it's great. It really is great. Okay, and another one, which is very different. Hi, Michelle Lynn, welcome. And if I missed anybody else coming in, I apologize for not greeting you. Okay, it's getting very warm here. And maybe this could have gone in another category. And some of you might go, what? Sadhana, why are you pulling this deck out? You've never seen this deck on my channel, have you? Maybe you have once. Why? Why is this deck coming out right now? This deck is a history lesson. It is a you know, in Ayurveda about the idea about the three constitutions, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And there is this, I think, always this intention that there's an awareness of bringing balance, right? Wouldn't it be really cool if we could all be 33.3 of each in a sort of moderate extreme? And I just find this deck, it's just so Vata. I love a good challenge. I totally respect Benabel Wen. But I think this almost, I wouldn't even consider this a tarot deck. I think this is more of a study. It's more like a study project. And I think if you are reading with this deck and not giving it the service that it is due, because there is so much that shines through this deck. There is so much to learn, and it is fascinating. But in its airiness, I think it loses some of the heart of tarot, and it loses the ability to read. It takes away from the intuitive aspect of tarot as well too. And I suppose maybe one day I will get to know this deck. I can imagine spending a year. So you know some of the deep dives that I have done. If I were to schedule a deep dive with this deck, I would schedule it for a whole year. It would not be something I do in 19 or 20 weeks. Imagine, it takes me 19 weeks to give any justice to the Marielle Tarot, and that is really nothing. We're doing the Philarcos Tarot right now, and we're over 20 weeks. And this deck probably, it would take a couple of years to give any sort of justice to its depth. So yeah, so I if I'm going to do 2024 is going to be a Marseille year on the channel. Maybe 2025 I could dedicate to Spirit Keepers Tarot, but that means I would have to want to do that, and I'm not sure that I want to do that. So that's why I'm putting it in this category. All right, welcome. Did I miss Mary Band of Oracles? Hello to you. I see your name because somebody else said hello to you. Welcome. It's so great that you guys are looking after everybody here. I don't even see Mary Band of Oracles when they came in. Okay, thank you to everybody for being so wonderful here. There are 21 questions, and I have a 22nd question. Okay. What deck would you never use to read for someone else? Good question. Very good question. What deck would you never use to read for someone else? How about if I throw that back at you? And you know, it's changed over the years. It's changed. But right now I'm pulling out the Urban Tarot. And I want to use this as, can I use this as a genre? As a genre. I think never perhaps is a strong word, but there are a lot of very confronting cards in this deck. And I think for me to use this deck with a querent, I would, it would have to be a very specific stuff that we are working on. And they would need to relate to the city vibe of the deck. And, you know, granted, there are some amazing cards in this deck. Amazing. I'm just, sorry, I got lost in a particular comment on the chat, so I'm just going to focus on this for now. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I've used it for myself, but I don't think I would ever use this deck for working with another. It is sort of Thoth inspired, sort of. It has some really great insight, but yeah, I'd be very, very cautious about using it for other people. And I did have another deck in this category. What was it? Oh, I put Hoodoo here as well too. I'd be very, very cautious about using Hoodoo with other people. So that is one. And then this is hilarious because there are many, many, many videos on this deck on my channel, and I still own it. I haven't gotten rid of it, and I've never done a reading for myself with this deck. And if I have, I did it during the deep dive, and I did get something out of the deep dive, but I would never do a reading for myself with this deck. Do you know which deck it is? Anybody want to venture a guess? Yes, there we go. There we go. And if you are lost and looking for a different perspective on this deck, I put a lot of energy into my deep dive on this deck. So there's a whole bunch of videos on this deck. And I would never use this deck for a reading. To me, this is a post-apocalyptic deck with some really, really funky twists and turns. And again, this deck is funny because it is partially curated and partially not curated. And like some of the art. But yeah, and it's, you know what, it's in really, really looking at some of the details that the deck becomes creepier and creepier. And I know some people love it. Some people love it. Okay. What deck could you not bring? Ooh, I made some visuals for you. Yes, I've told you I was busy preparing for this. I made some visuals. Okay, there's two. There's two. Here's one. Oh, that didn't work out very well. This is Mysteries of the Black Madonna. And the website is hergracesacredart.com. There is a collection of tarot decks. There's a few of them. And the art is every single one of the cards is a three-dimensional piece of art that is created and then photographed into a deck. And really quite extraordinary artwork, but I could not bring myself to buy this one. Okay, and the other one, what's the other one? It's also a collection of decks that I could not bring myself to buy. Any idea? I believe the latest one has to do with seaweed. So this is another one that I could not bring myself to buy. Also very expensive, and I'm not sure I would use it. Apparently it's amazing. It gives amazing readings, but I could not bring myself to buy. Yeah. So I see that Laura put in oak, ash, and thorn. I didn't buy oak, ash, and thorn because I have so many animal decks and I rarely pull them out, and I didn't need another animal deck. That's why I bought smoke, ash, and embers, because I loved what is it called Three Trees, that group was doing and what they stand for. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of money, and I can't just buy one. I would yeah. So maybe one day. Maybe one day. All right. Well, there are a few. But this one, this is the first one that I grab. So if we're not, okay, so I was talking about Tarot de Marseille, and I'm saying how there are contemporary Tarot de Marseille that aren't really Tarot de Marseille because they don't adhere to the strict structure of Tarot de Marseille. And so a contemporary Tarot de Marseille by a Tarot de Marseille expert wouldn't be considered a Tarot de Marseille, right? A pip deck, I believe Tarot de Marseille decks are pip decks. To some degree, the Thoth is a pip deck. I would say that there are a number of Waite Smith inspired decks that are pip decks. One that comes to mind is the Lumina that I really like, except for some of those court cards. Yeah, and probably the Field. The Field is a deck that I like. But the one I'm sharing with you today is you already guessed because I like this one a lot. Okay, and I think that would be a really good place to begin in 2024. Hello, what's going on? Uh-oh. Sorry, I screwed up on my phone. Uh-oh. What did I do? Sorry. I did something funny on my phone. Oh. bear with me. There we go. All right. If you want fancy tech, you need to go somewhere else. I apologize. Okay. So yes, this is created by an American named Lisa Papez, and Lori lives in the Ozarks, or used to live in the Ozarks. That's why the deck is called Tarot of the Ozarks, which is a play on French words. Tarot of the Arcs. Yeah. And this is just, I just love that it's borderless and you can see all these colors, and yeah. So it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And if there is I really like the Tarot de Rivso, so that's another one that's way up there. Yeah. Yeah, this is the one that I chose. I have both. I have both backs. I have the red backs and the new floral backs. Okay. Number 20. This is a silly question. This is a very silly question because any deck's going to tell you the truth. It's just whether or not you want to hear it. Yeah. But I'm going to answer it because I want to play along. What deck? Okay. If I were answering this question some years ago, I would say, ooh, that fairy deck. Oh my goodness. Okay, what was that fairy deck? I had both the borderless version and the version with borders, and I decided to keep the version with borders because those little fairies needed to stay in the borders because they were so naughty. Was it called Mystic? Is it called Mystic Fairy Tarot? And I think it was that. Anyway, I don't have it anymore. It was a very hard-hitting deck for me. Okay. Sharon, you felt the same about this question? Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm going to comment on what Donna is saying here because I think, Donna, I will do live readings on Tuesdays. I will do everything Tarot de Marseille, the whole year, every broadcast, deep dives, everything. I think that's the plan. Okay. I'm sharing Deviant Moon. I think this is another deck that sometimes says things in a way that you might not appreciate it being reflected. This deck does, it somehow cuts to the truth, often in a humorous tongue in the cheek kind of way, but sometimes it can be quite cutting. And yeah, so I put this deck here. And I think if you don't know this deck, it's really worthwhile taking some time with each of the pictures and starting to, you know, to look at the details in the pictures and the details that are on the costumes and the way that the double faces are portrayed, and to pay more attention to the moon phases that are present in each of the cards. Yeah. Ooh, Dee Dee votes for Lubanco. Now, I do not have Lubanco, so I appreciate that. If there is a suggestion. Okay. What I was saying about a year with Marseille, I think a good way to start would be to talk about the different styles of Tarot de Marseille. Actually, that's not true. I grew up with a very scary brother, and well, not till later in life anyway. Yeah, I was fortunate. Ooh, yes, Barbara Walker is another good suggestion. Yes. Yeah, Barbara Walker is another good suggestion. Okay. All right, and I've added a question. And I feel like I haven't shared everything that's on my table, but that is okay, because this is a lot for one thing. Ooh. 21. What's the deck that got away? And this is funny, because you might not think that this is, I've shared this before, that I would like to have this deck. And that's the Hilda. There's just something, so what was that deck that, so I got the Self-Love Tarot, sold it. I've tried a few of these, you know, body beautiful decks, and I don't know, I just can't do it. But there's something about the Hilda that I find endearing, very, very endearing, and I would just use this for myself and read it very intuitively, and I'm sorry that I missed out on this one. Yeah. So if you ever see somebody releasing an indie version of this deck, I am not interested in purchasing an edited version that goes mass market. And are you talking about Lubanco going mass market, or the one that I'm talking about? Okay, so that's the deck that got away. And oh, it does. Okay, well, obviously, I thought I subscribed to their website, but maybe I'll check that out. Okay. Okay. And last one. So this is my own question. Oh, Donna, yes, I will address that. Okay, what decks have you never worked with that you'd like to get to know? I added this question because I think all of us have decks. All of us that have more than 20 tarot decks. There's decks that we don't spend a lot of time with, and I am in the process of selecting the next deep dive tarot deck. And I've done one video on this deck, and I'm really fascinated with this deck, and I want to spend more time with it, and I just need to, and I know that I can't really do a deep dive with it because it's not, people can't get it. So I might do something public with it because I don't have time to do a private deep dive and a personal, I don't have time to do a personal deep dive and a public one as well too. Right, there's clients to see, there's family to look after. So yeah, so I feel like this one is, every time I open the cupboard, it's dinging the bell at me. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Good to know about. Thank you for all that information on the Hilda. Okay. It's been a bit of a long one today, but I want to thank you all so much for hanging out with me on this beautiful Friday. For those of you that are in the UK or the EU, thank you for staying up late and hanging out here with us. And for those of you that are in North, South America, have a lovely rest of your day. And I will see you all next week. Namaste.